Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce myself. My name is Raudatul Jannah. I come from class day 2018. In this video, I wanted to present my mini proposal by title The Effectiveness of Using Kahoot Application Media to Improve Student Speaking in the Pandemic COVID-19 Man 5 hulu sungai tengah. The first of the background of study. Background of study. In speaking is very important to facilitate a good communication, especially when there are COVID-19 pandemic or a virus that has spread through the world, which is very dangerous. And then the learning that was initially carried out face-to-face turning into online. With online learning, students rarely feel the change that occur in the learning that is carried out. So, in this case, with development of technology, there are many applications that support the ongoing learning so that extinct learning does not feel bored. One of which is the Kahoot application that can support learning in the term of speaking. With this, teachers use the Kahoot application to improve students' English skill remotely. Next, previous studies. Study from Nunung SP, the research the application of Kahoot in the context of teaching English or ELT, an alternative learning strategy. In this study, there were several results related to learning English based online with the Kahoot application strategy. Then, there are several targets present in the study, namely implementing Kahoot as a learning medium that requires preparation that is really prepared. With this so that teacher can carry out learning activities able to really master the material to be delivered. Related to this study, the researchers examined the effectiveness of the Kahoot application in teaching English speaking. In the next, the research EAP, and this is proposed to find out whether the use of online-based media can improve speaking in English. In this study, focus on how effective the use of online-based media is, namely the use of the Kahoot application. With this result, with provided benefit for a teacher to train students skills in speaking using online-based media. And then, of the significance of study. The number one, for teacher. The result of this study are expected to provide a solution to the teacher when teaching students to speak English, if later there will be online learning. And then, the second, for the student, the result of this study are expected to improve their speaking in English through the technique that have been studied. And then, for research, the result of this study are expected to provide experiment and insight into English language teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic in a writing world. And the last, for readers. The result of this study are expected to be add insight and become a comparison of teaching offline or online. In the next, the research question. The research question is how effective is the use of Kahoot application media to improve students' speaking skill during the COVID-19 pandemic Man 5 hulu sungai tengah. And then the research objective. The purpose of the study was to determine the effectiveness of the using of media, namely the use of the Kahoot application to improve students' speaking skill during the COVID-19 pandemic Man 5 Hulu Sungai Tengah. Next, the research methodology. The first, the method. The research used quasi-experimental research as the framework. There are pre-test treatment using Kahoot application and post-test for experimental group. The second one is control group, which given a pre-test, no treatment, and post-test. There are a pre-test treatment using Kahoot application and post-test for experimental group. The second one is control group, which given a pre-test, no treatment, and post-test. The second setting, research setting. This research was conducted at Man 5 Hulu Sungai Tengah via the internet because this research was at the time of learning about the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the population. The population of the research is the student of Man 5 Hulu Sungai Tengah. And then the sample, 24 students of class 10 as the experimental group and 24 students of class 11 as the control group. In the last of research methodology is data collection and data analysis. Data collection is test and non-test, and then data analysis, descriptive analysis, normality test, pair sample test. To collect the data, the researcher used test and non-test. The first test, and then the first test, this research used two kind of tests. There were pre-test and then post-test. And then the non-test documentation. The documentation was taken during the research. Researchers use some related document to the object. In this research, researchers documented the student test sheet, student name list, lesson plan, and photo during the process of research. For the data analysis, based on the explanation above, the researcher did some steps to analyze the data. There are descriptive analysis. It's aimed to explain and describe the research data, and then test of normality. To aim to know is the data of each sample of the research as distribute normality. And then paired sample test is used for knowing whether and mean differences of the paired sample. The data that's analyzed in the test are the experiments, pre-test with the experiments, post-test, and the control pre-test, the control post-test. And then test of homogeneity is aimed to know the data variance of the research. It belongs to homogeneous or heterogeneous. And then independent sample test to aim to find the unpaired difference mean of the data. The data that's analyzed in this test are the experiments, post-test, and controls post-test. I think enough for my explanation for me. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.